Welcome, this edition of Faith and Republic. I am your host, Keith Haney. This podcast, we highlight ministry opportunities, people's stories, and how their stories impact their faith and their dreams. Today, I'm so thankful to have on my show today, Seth Miller. Seth was a U.S. Air Force Major Sergeant, served for 20 years in military experience. He has endured positive and negative experiences, which have contributed to cultivating his hustler mindset. Seth has emboldened individuals to step up to their power as leaders, beginning with confronting their fears that impaired their abilities and undermined success. As a father, speaker, coach, and author, he desires to share learned, valuable lessons on disrupting our natural default settings and embracing discomfort while facilitating forward movement. Seth has spoken on several platforms, United States Air Force Diversity and Inclusion, the Wounded Warrior Project, and the St. Louis Metro Area Girls Mentoring Session, to name a few, while contributing to his passion for the community. Well, welcome, Seth. I'm glad to have you on the show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Keith. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to talk about this. One of my goals in this podcast is to find ways to encourage our Black brothers and sisters and kind of also let my audience know ways that they can come alongside people and be a blessing in their life. So I'm glad you could be a part of this.
No, thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate what you're doing. So, no, that's great.
So I'm going to give you a good question to kind of warm you up. So what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
The best advice, one, because there's so many, but one was from my great grandmother that recently passed at the age of 96. She said, baby, always remember that common sense is a flower that doesn't grow in everyone's backyard.
That's pretty good. I like
Right.
that.
So what that does, or what that did, was help me to remember that what I believe is common sense is not always common for everyone else. So to grant grace.
That's good. I like that.
Hmm.
I have a similar one. It's like, you can't stop stupid
That's
people.
right. That's right. Hmm.
So I ran across your book when I look at your website. You call the Black Collar Mindset. What
That's right.
motivated you to write this book?
Well, what motivated me to write this book is because I am a father, and the unfortunate part is I did not grow up with my father in my household, but I learned a lot from the neighborhood that I'm from the east side of Detroit, Michigan. So I realized that there were so many life lessons, but they were hidden in the most unparticular, or let's say the not the best of circumstances, but lifelong lessons. So it's a way to uh, elaborate on how to connect with individuals, to let them know that no matter where they go in the world, they are there. So in order to change their environment, they have to change their mindset.
That's funny. I was actually, my first official job in the world was on the west side of Detroit.
Mm, okay.
So I kind of get the area there. It's like we would have been rivals in my day of East and West Side.
Oh, right. Mhm.
So, I look at your book and I've heard of blue collar and white collar, but what exactly is the black collar mindset?
Well, the black collar, and for those of you that don't know what a blue collar worker is, that's an individual that's more of a mechanic, right? Mechanic type of industrial worker. The white collar worker is an individual that's more clerical, right, or administrative. But the black collar is, first of all, it represents what you see when you close your eyes. You see nothing but black, but that
Right.
is where your passion lies. And so, therefore, individuals can have a blue or white collar job, but they have a black collar hustle. So, for example, an individual may be, like we said, a mechanic
Mm-hmm.
throughout the day, but at night they cut hair. Or
Right.
they may be a DJ, or they may be a podcaster. You see? So, what they're doing is finding a way to operate within their passion, and that's the black collar mindset. So to be able to do what you have to do in order to feed what you want to do at the same time.
I think that's so critical. 'Cause I try to direct this podcast at a couple of groups. Number one, African Americans who I hope to encourage and inspire to have that kind of mindset,
Yes.
but also to help. I work in a mostly white church body. So
Okay.
our church body is like 97% German American.
Hmm.
And trying to get them to understand a little bit too of what that black mindset is that, like you said, you always have to have a side hustle
Always, always.
because you cannot rely on whatever job you have as being your only source of income. Your goal is always to make sure that you're taking that next level and you don't want to rely on one source of income. You have to have a side hustle.
Absolutely right. Because the individuals that hire you will never pay you enough to be their neighbor. So you have to do the
That's right.
extra things right on your own to
Right.
live the way that you want to live.
So you mentioned something I want to kind of dig a little deeper in. You mentioned you learned a lot of lessons on the east side of Detroit.
Mhm.
What were some of the things that you saw that maybe my audience would benefit from some of the lessons you learned?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, let's say one of those things were, so I'm originally from Detroit, like I said, and we in that area, we call soda pop. Okay. And pop is the same. But it all depends on what part of the United States you're from. You either call it soda, you might call everything Coke, or you might call it soda pop, but we call it pop. But what I utilized or what I did was use that word and break it down to an acronym that stands for passion, opportunity, and purpose. So what I learned was when well, first of all, when I was honest with myself to say, hey, self, you really like doing whatever it is. Okay. And if you like doing what you like to do, then you will see certain opportunities. Utilize those opportunities, right? And by utilizing those opportunities, that's when you can see the whole purpose of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I learned in different areas. Being in school, in high school, I used to hang out with different individuals just because I thought that was more socially acceptable, but I was still on honor roll. And so I had to realize, hold on, this isn't what I like to do. Let me start doing things that I like to do. And when I started to gravitate towards those things, more opportunities start to open. Now, here I am today, being able to share that gift with other individuals.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Mhm.
I grew up in the deep South, and so we didn't have pop. We had cold drinks, so everything was a cold drink. So you're right about that.
Mhm.
But I love that. I love that opportunity about putting that acronym into a word that empowers you to try to live up to your potential. Now, you mentioned a lot that you like to help people overcome obstacles in their lives.
That's right.
So give me some examples of how you help people accomplish this from your
Okay.
speaking.
All right. No, no, that's perfect. So, for example, first the book, The Black Collar Mindset, that's just one tool. And I use that as a manual. I will be able to, and I have went to different schools and different organizations, for profit or non-for-profit organizations, just to challenge individuals. They challenge the way that they think, right? It's a paradigm shift. So the word paradigm, what is that? A paradigm is the way that we normally think based off of our culture, our morals, or what someone has told us. But the paradigm shift comes when you just look a different direction, say, hey, what about this? So what I do is challenge individuals to think deeper as to not the fruit of your labor, but the root of it. Where does it come from and what can be changed from that? So I've been using the book and then also have a podcast like yourself. It's called The Lion's Den with Seth. And that's available on every major podcast platform. And when we have, it's me and the rest of my co-hosts, all men, and we have men issues, and we may interview other people. But I also have another podcast called The Sanity Check. The Sanity Check is was birthed after the pandemic and during the pandemic, and just pretty much teaching skills of resiliency from the mental, spiritual, social, and physical aspects, and how people can stay sane during all this, during these times of civil unrest and just this pandemic in general. So that's what I do, and that's how I do it.
I was listening to, I think it was the Breakfast Club,
Hmm.
and they were talking about African Americans during this pandemic.
Hmm.
And the struggle is looking for the government to provide a check,
Mhm.
you know, to get us through. And somebody said, I think it was on that show, that especially for African Americans, you need to have resources so that you can survive
That's right.
during these kind of downtimes. You
Absolutely.
can't rely on a boss or a job or an employer to take care for you. You really do have to have, like you talk about, that side hustle where if everything else goes wrong, you're not waiting on somebody to come in to the rescue. So kind of talk a little bit about the insanity check, how you prepare people to prepare for these kind of events in our life.
Well, basically, what we do is give individuals applicable skills to give themselves permission to be great. Because regardless of what someone gives you, right, what are you going to do with those talents, if you will, right?
Right.
So just like if I give you something, I'm going to watch you to a degree to see what you do with what I give you. But what I help to instill into individuals is that you your standards first, and your standards teach individuals how to treat you. So what
Right.
you do is you do a 360 turn in your home, and that is a snapshot representation of the standards that you set for yourself, regardless if it's something on the couch or if it's, a smudge on the wall or whatever it is. How long has that been there? How long has this been here? What do you want to change about your immediate surrounding, right? So what I
Right.
help, like I said, encourage individuals to do is to give yourself permission to do it, and don't wait on individuals to do that. That's when insanity comes, right?
Right.
Yes.
So what are some of the common obstacles you run across to say prevent greatness? We talk about there's always that 5-star athlete
Yes.
who has amazing potential but never gets off out of high school, never
That's
gets beyond a freshman in college, never makes it to the pinnacle of the NBA. So how do you get that 5-star recruit to go, let me avoid getting stuck in my greatness?
hmm Well, it depends, because it happens in different ways, in different aspects, right? Because sometimes we listen to individuals that have a limited view of life, and we take that to heart. So then that incurs fear. That occurs fear, right? So sometimes individuals don't want to be great because they're afraid of holding that standard. That's number one. Number two, still talking about that individual, you have to look at your surroundings. So there's an old saying that if you hang around three millionaires, you will become the fourth. So your surroundings is a key aspect to your future. And then after that, it is about being honest with yourself. What is it that you want to do? And why do you want to do it?
Right.
Sometimes individuals want to do things because they see someone else doing it and they are attracted to the results of it, but they don't know the hustle of it. So can you see yourself doing something day in, day out to get that result and then more? Right? Because what they're doing is looking at someone else's snapshot of their finish line. But we know that it's a marathon. There is no finish line. There's just
Right.
goals,
Exactly.
boom, and then another goal, boom, and then another goal. So if an individual cannot wrap their mind around that constant grind, and constant growth, and have that growth mindset, that's going to inhibit that.
I like that point too you made. I think who you surround yourself with is critical.
Yes.
When Just think about the people I ran across in the Detroit area. There were so many kids who had amazing potential and they had the drive, but they could not get rid of the, as we would say, the homies that they grew up with.
hmm hmm
And those were the people who kept them back. And
Yeah.
I'm like, so how do you not, because we always get accused if we become successful as African Americans that
hmm
you forgot where you came from.
Right.
So how do you not forget where you came from, but still surround yourself with people who can bless you?
Well, I would say, just for my own experience, is you will never forget where you came from. However, you do not better yourself or your situation or your family situation to stay where you currently are. So if there's an individual that feel as though you're not quote unquote down, or you've changed, I would just ask them, am I supposed to stay the same? Here I am, or here we are. I've seen you. We were in, let's say, high school together, but now we're in our late 30s, early 40s. I'm doing this and you're still doing that. Where's the, where's it at? Where's the trade-off? So I would rather surround myself with individuals that have the same trajectory as I do. And then therefore we can help each other along the way. If I start to lean or drift, they push me over and vice versa. We stay in the lane, but of positive momentum. If there's an individual that would like to cause some type of guilt or animosity because of the direction I'm going in, that's their problem, not mine.
Right.
So that's what it is. It's being able to be okay and understanding, just like a section in my book, that not everybody is meant to come with you.
That's pretty good.
Not
Right.
everybody is meant to come with you. And not everyone, also in the book, not everyone in your boat is rowing. So we need to analyze the individuals that we have in our boat. A, why are they in our boat? And there may be some individuals that's there that's silently drilling holes in our boat, waiting for us to fail. So we have to make sure we use that discernment to understand, okay, this individual is here, but why? You
Right.
see? And then
You.
and then let's flip it. Am I in someone else's boat and am I contributing? Am I rowing? Am I rowing backwards? Am I preventing them from moving forward? Maybe I need to get out of their boat because I'm not helping them or they're not going in a direction that I would like to go in myself. So it's a whole lot, but I will say, to answer your question, the root word is accountability, self accountability. And that's it. You have to hold yourself accountable for any actions and not wait on someone else or blame things on someone else. That's what I would say. That's the root cause.
Yeah, that's good. So if you think about one principle that you would start with that you think is the most important lesson for people to learn, what would that be?
That you are enough. You are enough. And the reason why I say that is because so many of us have limited beliefs that have been sometimes passed on to us, that we feel as though we cannot be great and we don't, and that we don't have the audacity to even think we should be great. But once you understand the difference between your value and your worth, then you can step in your greatness. But you have to be able to say to yourself, you know what, I'm enough. I don't know it all. I want to know it all. I want to learn what I need to learn in order to get from point A to point B. But the way I was created is enough. And if there's anything or anyone that tells me things that's contrary to that belief, I need to remove them out of my life or compartmentalize them, because it might be someone you love, someone you trust, maybe family members, but put them somewhere that's not in line of your goals.
That is the second time I've heard that exact same phrase from another podcaster, that
What's
you
that?
are enough.
Mm-hmm.
You are enough. I mean, so it's a theme that's been coming out for, it was a lady I was talking to about divorce. She
Yeah.
tells wives who have been divorced or women who've been divorced that you are enough. And funny enough, her podcast is called The Lioness. So those two, you two guys have gotten something going on with lions and
Mhm.
in your podcast. I appreciate that. If you wanted to, if you were speaking to a young group of African American people, young people today,
Mhm.
what would be your message to them, especially with all the things that are going on? Because I think as we look at what happened this summer with the whole George Floyd thing,
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of us were impacted by that. It motivated us to get our voice out there so people could hear the issues that we're dealing with. But what would you want to communicate to those people who are kind of maybe stuck in those areas, like a Detroit,
Mhm.
going, what's my future going to be? Where's my hope at?
What I would ask them first is to ask themselves, where does it hurt? And what I mean by that is understanding understanding where it hurt and embracing it will help you to move in a direction that you want to move in. For example, if there is something, well, using myself for example, here I am, I'm retired now off the military, and there's some things that I see in my neighbor, not just my neighborhood, but the surrounding city that I believe could be better. And since I am a father in this organization, not organization, but in this city, what can I do to better the situation? All right. So I would ask these young men to always think about themselves as a changer, a life changer, find out where it hurt and be the change that you want to see. So I'm saying that to say this, that is the reason why I'm currently running for an alderman position in my city, because I want to be the change that I want to see. Regardless if I win or not, I'm going to be active. You see? So that's what I would challenge those young men to do and to allow, or not allow, but to align those things with what they are passionate with. And then it goes back to the pot. See, what are you passionate with? Then you start to see these opportunities. Then you will see your purpose, not your friend's purpose, or not your mother's purpose, or not your cousin's purpose. You will see your purpose, and no one can do what you do, but you have to give yourself permission to do what you do. And there's so many people that will tell young men and women, you can be great, you can do this and that. And they could, but they have to know that they can first. Other than that, it doesn't matter. We can tell them how great they can be until they're blue in the face, but they have to believe it.
Right. And I like the idea of it being great within your purpose. So, what is your purpose? 'Cause without knowing that, I mean, we can just flounder around forever trying to figure out where is that area I'm supposed to be great in, and why do I want to be great? I think that's a
Absolutely.
critical question too. Why do you want to be great?
That's right.
So, anything I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
No, brother, I think that that's all good. I think that's good. And I do appreciate it, just giving me the opportunity to speak about this. This is a passion of mine, right? So I do appreciate you letting me walk in that.
So, how can my readers find your book,
Okay.
and also give us the information how to find you on Facebook, social media, your
Okay. Well,
podcast?
all right, right on. Well, they can find my book at the Black Collar, I think it's the blackcollarmindset.com, or you can get it on Amazon, or you can go to that website, excuse me, and get the autographed copy of the book. And I am on social media, Seth the Speaker. You can find that on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. The podcast, like I said, is on every major podcast platform. The Lions Den with Seth, and that's when you will see the sanity check within there as well. It's not two different handles; they're put in together. And also just recently, I purchased a network, so we have an app called the Lions Pride Network, and that's available on Amazon Fire TV, and on Roku, where not just our content, but other content creators are able to have their content available visual like this, and being able to reach 160 million individuals worldwide. So yes, there's so many different ways you guys can get in contact, and I'm always open to have conversations and communicate to different organizations, profit or non-for-profit.
So, what's your big thing for 2021? What's on the horizon for Seth in 2021?
Mm. Well, the second book, the part two of the Black Collar Mindset, actually volume two, and it's called The Speed of Passion. And that will be the second part, obviously, of first getting your mind right, and then moving in the direction that you want to go in, and avoiding certain potholes. And some potholes you need to run over so you can feel it. You understand?
Right, exactly.
You see, because if you keep avoiding them, then you won't understand why you're truly avoiding them, because you're listening to other people. But some potholes you need to run over just so you can feel the suspension, and feel different things as you're going down that road to reach your goal.
And when is that one coming out?
It's coming out soon, brother. It's coming out soon. So
All
just
right. Well, you let us know. We'll let our audience know when it comes out.
oh yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I really appreciate the time. I enjoyed this conversation and blessings on what you're doing. I really pray that you continue to pour into people's lives and continue to inspire them and just give them hope. We need to have people speaking that kind of truth today because there are so many people out there who are I think they quit greatness before
Yeah.
just a little too soon. I know
So
people who are like, if you had just hung in there like one more month or just 6 more months, you were about to achieve something. So
mm,
um, I just encourage people not to give up on those dreams, not to give up on your purpose, but to allow God to move and direct you where He's going to take you. And He's got greatness in mind for you. So I appreciate you, Seth, for taking the time and sharing with my listeners today.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I thank you for joining me on this edition of The Light Breaks Through and my guest, Seth Miller. If you want to follow this content, you can find this podcast on all the major platforms. You can also subscribe to my blog and get similar content sent right to your inbox at www.alightbreakthrough.org. In the meantime, I ask you to go and rate this podcast and leave a review. This month is a special for the greatest review, the one that you get picked. And end of February, you get a signed copy of my new book, Words of Encouragement, coming out from Concordia Publishing House. But I encourage you to share this with young people who need inspiration or you yourself need inspiration. But I want you to think about the fact that God has an amazing plan in line for you and for your life. Don't give up on those dreams. Don't give up on your destiny because God's going to do amazing things through you. Until next time, be blessed and be the person that makes a difference in other people's lives.